Hey everybody, I've been getting a lot of questions during this time. A lot of people are having time right now. They're saying, hey, what's the best use of time for me to study self-protection, in particular the principles and methods in TFT? And it's a great question, and it's really funny because most people, when they associate training, hand-to-hand combat, fighting or anything like that, they think about the full speed execution of everything. They think about sparring. They think about doing that. And also that prevents a lot of people from training because they think, well, gee, if I can't train like a UFC fighter, I can't really get any good information out of it. And nothing could be further from the truth. The training methodologies that you should be using right now are training methodologies that identify where on the human body to put all your effort. And I know if you've been following TFT, you've seen this. You've seen us talk about that. You see the target selection that we do. We talk about the specificity of the injuries that we're trying to go after. But I want to take it a little bit further today and tell you why that's so valuable. Now, you can grab any one of our TFT products, that you have. Some of you guys probably have the seminar series. Other people probably have some of our, maybe Justified Lethal Force. Maybe you have some of the older products, like the New York tapes or something. Each one of those shows a training scenario, a training portion where we're doing targeting. Now, that is the key. The key is, the reason this is called target-focused training is because that is the most specific thing that you have to worry about when your life's under threat. And the best way to learn where to put all your efforts is by just looking at the human body and identifying all the vulnerable parts of it. Now, a lot of you are probably, yeah, Tim, I know that. But are you training it? See, it's one thing to read something, see it quick and go, yeah, I know, I'm gonna punch the throat. I'll give you a perfect example. I had a guy who was a tier 1 operator, a Delta Force operator, very competent guy. And he literally was telling people at a group that there's no way anybody could take his eye. He could just squeeze down really hard and nobody could get in there. And he was challenging one of the guys in there to go in and grab his eye. One of my guys was there that I had been training from one of those units. And he was just shaking his head the whole time. Because this guy didn't understand that anybody, any human being, can have their eye taken from them. It's not a question of being tough. It's not a question of having really tough eye muscles. It's a question of taking the real steps to understand trauma to the human body. And all he did was he came up and he just used the back of his hand. And he went up to, and now understand, these guys are alphas, they're tough dudes, they like to train hard. It's not how I train, civilians. I wouldn't do this in a civilian class, but in military classes, we use a lot more hands-on. And this guy just went up and he goes, oh, that's really interesting. He slapped him in the groin, just backhanded slap right in the groin. The guy went, oh, like this, and he just went right in his eye. He turned white. He couldn't believe, he got it right away. He realized, oh, wow, I didn't know that. Now, how did that individual, the guy that we trained, how did he know that? He immersed himself in understanding the human body and how it responds to trauma. And he didn't immerse himself by doing this stuff at full speed. He looked at this, he worked with a partner, he worked with, the materials that we have, and he specifically understood where to put his efforts on the human body. And the whole idea was aim small, miss small. Now, I'm sure you guys have one of the products that probably shows our target list. If not, there's a target list that you could buy, a chart that you can buy if you need it. But really, we go over it. Any of the products that you have, there's specific information in there on the human body. And what you need to do is really understand that and understand what that means and understand what tool you would put there. This guy knew exactly how to use his finger, his thumb, to get in the inside tear duct of that guy's eye. The way he did it, he went right in here or right in here and just instantly got this guy to react and open his eye in a vulnerable position because he understood how the body responds to trauma. Now, the great thing about this is, I've said this time and time again, none of this part of your training involves speed. This is slow, deliberate training. I was recently reading an article from a friend of mine that does a lot of firearms training, and he was writing about slow versus fast training and how the best people in the world train slow. Now, you've heard this mantra from me a lot, but understand why. He was talking about some Olympic athletes that he attended a course like 25 years ago, and he was talking about how they were learning. They were shot putters and they were discus throwers, and they were being shown very slow, deliberate methods on how to look at each part of the event that they were doing. The mind cannot understand anything at speed, meaning if you do something in fast execution, you just know the beginning and the end. That's it. Everything in between is a blur. And the value of going slow and deliberate is your brain and body understand, oh, this is what you want me to do. That's why those high-end athletes can do these very complex movements. If you really break down, say, a shot put or a discus throw, that's a very complex movement. And yet these guys can execute it effortlessly. And it's not about really muscle memory, it's about the slow, deliberate training that allows the body to absorb that information properly. They call it myelination. There's all sorts of other names for it. Some people call it muscle memory back in the old days. So I want to go over the next couple of days more of this type of information and why it's so important to your training. Because again, oftentimes what happens, and believe me, when I first started training, I was that guy. I like to go hard and fast right away. Boom, boom, boom. I didn't start being professional and really being able to depend on this information, depend on it with my life, until I slowed everything down and I learned accuracy and correctness each and every way. You have an opportunity. A lot of us have extra time on our hands right now, and this would be a great time for you to immerse yourself in that study. It's not going to be physically taxing for you to do this, and it'll be there. I can only tell you, if you are a person that thinks they're too old, you have injuries, you don't think you can move as fast, or you think you're too frail or anything, it's even more critical that you take the time to understand this, because this is how you can protect yourself, by understanding where to put all that effort and get a real result on that predator is everything that you need to save your life, especially if you're not in the best condition, or you have an injury, or you have a disability. You want to know that when you get your opportunity, you know exactly what to do. And so studying that, so just take some of your products that you have right now. I would say take one thing, maybe just one of the target assemblies that we've done. Maybe it's the eye, maybe it's the throat, maybe it's the groin or the ankle or lower margin of the rib cage, and really understand what's being said there. Really understand where and why. We go into depth on all of that stuff in the products that you have. I wanted to reach out right now because a lot of people are concerned. There's a lot going on in the world right now. People are much more aware of the potentiality for violence and physical violence on them. And one of the best things you can do right now is go slow, accurate, and correct. And that's the beauty of the information that you have. But I would say there's only a small portion of you that are taking advantage of that knowledge and applying it correctly. So I'd implore you, over the next couple of days, I'm going to share some more ideas with you. But right now, understanding the human body and its response to trauma, and where you can take your body tools and strike that area, is so important that it is absolutely the difference between you surviving a violent situation or succumbing to it. That's really it. So that's my tip for today. I'll see you tomorrow with another one.